And we're back for some NBA observations. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here for the Lakers fast break. And it would be not an NBA observations without a good person indeed to have some great insight on and great NBA observations on the round ball and what's going on there. But you got to go ahead and check out what this guy's doing on the Suave Report. He does such a great job. Again, I've said it for 2 straight weeks now. If you haven't checked out the Clippers, and you need to now, especially because we just lost to them, but you know, you need to check out his great article on the Clippers, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and also his stuff at the New Century Press as well. It is Calif Poncy. Calif, before we get into it, wishing you a Merry Christmas and a happy holiday season for you and your family as well.
Yeah, you too. It's been a unfortunate holiday season in the NBA for both of our teams so far. This last week,
oh yes,
not been the best. But
I'm gonna shed a tear for your Oklahoma City Thunder. Yes,
yeah,
now
we're having to relearn. Yeah, 5-3. We're having to relearn over here. This is a new plane. Haven't had to deal with this in a while.
Absolutely, I lost 2 out of 3.
Yeah,
man, the sky is falling.
The
sky is falling.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's so funny because that's what the audience, when I do the post-game shows, I was talking with you about the post-game show earlier about what was said, but also what was said is KC's lost 2 and 3 and I'm like, okay, if you think that gap has narrowed so much between OKC and the rest of the league, okay, absolutely, that is I mean, we've seen flaws in recent days for OKC, but we've seen it for Denver when they lost to Houston, and then Houston enjoyed the Denver victory on the road at Denver so much they totally did a backflip in the fourth quarter when they had a double-digit lead in Sacramento. The Lakers with a chance to tie for second place, just absolutely did not get it done. No matter how many players were there, no matter how many players were not, still, you can't lose to a 6-win team, regardless at this point in time, because those things will cost you. And as I said to you, it's going to add up when you lose these type of games, like the Sacramento games, like the Clippers games. These losses add up, especially for the Lakers, who come into this week with a very tough week ahead with Phoenix and Houston, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, on the front of Houston and LA, it's just for those to lose to the 2 bottom teams in the West, for teams that have the aspirations that both those do this last week, is obviously pretty disappointing. I just think it's kind of tough. Like, I don't want to overreact to it just because it is just a game, and one game can be weird and things like that. But the Lakers have had a few of these moments against not great teams this season, and most teams do. And it's hard, like, coming at it from a perspective, the team I obviously am most focused on is OKC. Like, they did lose to Portland, but it was a way healthier Portland when we did a whole segment about how I thought they were going to be a 40+ win team this season. They were going to be pretty good. And then they've just been so hurt that they haven't been able to overcome that. And then other than that, OKC's only lost to really good teams. So it is kind of an adjustment to like most NBA teams lose to bad teams. Like, it's just the nature of basketball. I think Sacramento might have wins over. Did they beat Denver earlier this season too? I want to say
they did.
I want to say they have wins over Denver and Houston.
Portland has the OKC original victory as well. But the thing is, though, Caleb, it's not just the Lakers. If this could be a very good week for the Lakers with 2 victories, but they could also find themselves as low as 6th place in the Western Conference with 2 straight losses. But the Houston Rockets spend some time in LA with the Clippers and Lakers, and if they end up on the short end on both those games, they can find themselves in 6th place as well. All these teams are 3 or 4 losses put together, or a 3 out of 3 out of 4, 4 out of 5 streak per se from being at sixth place and really having their work cut out for them heading into 2026.
Yeah, I mean, it's really easy to kind of think it's one game here at this stage of the season. Like there's so much time left till the playoffs, and it feels like it's not a big deal because a lot of times in the grand scheme of things, it isn't. But then also every year we have these in the play-in or out of the play-in. It seems like it always comes down to one game or home court advantage or whatever the one game of difference may be. So they do matter, and for those teams to drop those games when I know OKC has multiple games left against all those teams. Denver and Houston have already played a lot, but I still want to say they play one more time. Like there's going to be really tough games on the schedule, and you kind of need to make sure you bank these wins against teams that everyone should really be beating. So, yeah, I mean, it's a disappointing result, and it's a weird mix of you don't want to overreact and say it is a huge deal and the Lakers can't win a playoff game now because they lost to the Clippers. Like it's not like that, but it also is like, well, it could be the difference between having to play Houston in the first round and having to play Minnesota in the first round or whatever, you want the beneficial matchup to be. So it's interesting to see, and it's always good to keep those kind of just in the back of your mind. Maybe not at the front of your mind here in the next few months, just in the back of your mind. If it comes down to one game, I think it's going to be hard not to remember a game like that Clippers game, or especially with Sacramento, with Houston taking, like you said, the double-digit lead and blowing that to Sacramento. So,
and that's the thing, though. Again, do you want to face the Minnesota team right now that's in sixth place in the playoff, or do you want to face a team like Phoenix, who's not as strong as they once were a couple weeks ago? Although, again, they have a chance to right the ship Tuesday against the Lakers. And then also as well, Golden State, who has been floundering right around the Mendoza line, well, not Mendoza, but 500 line for quite a bit now. I think that's something that has to be said as far as where you plan this out, because the top 6 in the West are very strong. I think any of those 6 teams, you could say, if they were in the East, they could be leading the East. They could very well be leading the East, any of those 6 teams.
Yeah, and I want to give the Knicks their credit because I do think New York is really, really among the league's elite. But other than that, and I guess Detroit, I think, is the 1 seed still, and they just kind of get forgotten about, which, don't want to do that. They're a good
team. But I think Minnesota is as good as New York, to give you an example. I think the Lakers are as good as New York or Detroit. I think those teams are all as good as Detroit or New York, and that's how tough I think the Western top 6 really is right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me personally, I think I'd have New York maybe like a half tier above both those teams. Not way better, but I think should they play in a 7-game series, I would think the Knicks were going to win both of those. But it's close, like it's not far. And your point is true. Like if Minnesota was in the East, they would be compete. Like we would say, is that the finals? Like they just beat OKC. They can make the finals. And in the West, they're the 5th most mentioned probably after, OKC, Houston, Denver, and the Lakers. So I mean that's just the nature of what the league has really been since Jordan retired, unfortunately. And now it's just at an all-time high. I mean the discrepancies. They changed the All-Star format to some disgusting new thing that doesn't make sense, for example. So, because of how unbalanced it is, maybe there's a few reasons for that, obviously, that we do not need to go into because no one cares. But, yeah, I mean, I agree with what you're saying. I just think on the specific thing in New York, I think they're a little better, but not a lot than the Lakers in Minnesota.
Once again, it is Calif Poncy. Please go ahead and check out his great work today at the Suave Report. It is NBA Observations, along with me, Gerald Glassford. Appreciate you joining us on this holiday season. Well, with the holiday season and Christmas Day comes the tradition that NFL now has as far as running games on football. Oh, yeah, there's NBA games there too. And we will find that out in the ratings when the NFL destroys the NBA now. Which is a shame that they're now treading on that. But again, college football too, with their football playoffs, because nobody really cared about the Snoop Dogg Bowl or the Xbox Bowl or anything like that. They do care about the college football playoffs. So that's going to be something, seeing how it's interjected. And the NFL going 4 days straight of games throughout the Christmas weekend. That's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out. But I'll say this again: the NBA does its job as far as it's concerned, lighting it up Christmas Day. But I got a message. I got a message and I got an email. I wanted to go ahead and hear your thoughts on this. And I tried to bring it up to Joe on one of our post games, but I wanted to make sure that this was mentioned uh, from Rogelio. And he talked about and asked about the NFL's move to Christmas, taking over that holiday period. Did you think it was, well, I don't want to use the language that he used on this show because I like to keep the NBA observations clean, but a jerk move, for lack of a better term. Do you think it was a jerk move for the NFL to come crowding in on the NBA's one day a year that they really wanted to, start showcasing? Because a lot of people, casual fans, don't start paying attention. The old adage, they don't start paying attention to the NBA until Christmas Day.
Yeah. No, I mean, I just think that's kind of the nature of the beast of, especially, I mean, the only things on live television that get a rating anymore are sports and news, obviously. And, so, I mean, you got to do everything you can. And it's a bit like those leagues probably aren't friends. They probably don't like, they're competing for the same viewership a lot of the time. So, I just think it's the nature of the business. I don't think either. I mean, it would be annoying if you were the NBA. You're like, really, guys? Like, you got to do this now. Like, just leave us alone for one. I do understand, but no, I mean, I just think that's the nature of the thing. And what's going to be unfortunate about it this year is the NFL games are not good. It is a bad slate of games, and the NBA games outside of really the first game of the thing, because the Cavs have been so bad this year. The next four are all awesome basketball games that, in terms of like quality of team, I mean, like the quality of team that's playing on NBA Christmas versus NFL Christmas, the NBA, it's not even close how much better the NBA teams are and how much more interesting the matchups are. But in terms of, do I think it was a jerk move? I mean, maybe on the principle, but in the reality, I just kind of think that's what it is. Like, everyone's going to do whatever they can to get the rating.
It's all about the dollars and cents, and it wasn't a jerk move, Virgilio. Maybe to an extent, I'd say yes, but again, it's business. And a business, I mean, the movies. Why are there so many movies being opening up right around this time of the year? I mean, with Avatar coming out, there's a report on, and I talked about it, about a lot of movies being put out there, the theaters this past weekend, and still yet more to come on Christmas Day. It's because a lot of people are available to consume programming of some type, and the NFL wanted a piece of that. And like you said, they're on the on paper, it looks like that those two games, or the games that are out there for the NFL, are not very good on Christmas Day. But again, they will exceed what the NBA is doing because the platforms that they're on, and we'll just have to leave it at that. But the NBA does have a pretty good slate coming up for this Christmas holiday season. So I want to hear your thoughts as we get into as far as the Christmas Day games per se. So with that, my friend, well, before we do that, I want to touch on one last thing Ruggiero was saying. Do you think they should move the games to Christmas Eve? Because that was right now, as of now, Christmas Eve is totally off the books. They don't do anything the NBA does on Christmas Eve. Should they move those games to Christmas Eve?
I don't think it's a bad. I mean, I think their rating would go up. I don't think it's a bad idea. That's obviously like the history of the NBA and Christmas. They're like so intertwined, and it's been that way for so long that it would be kind of hard for the traditionalists, I think, to maybe accept that move. But I do think, like, most people aren't working on Christmas Eve either, and I mean, I think that's honestly a pretty good idea, to be totally honest. Like, I think it sucks for the tradition of it. But and really, like, that this is a whole other conversation. Like, all these traditions, like when I was a kid growing up, not like 10 years ago or whatever, not that long ago even, but like they had the special jerseys and all like this stuff. And now they don't even really do it. Like, they just don't seem to even put a lot of work into it, which, fortunately, I think has seemed to change a little bit this year with the diversification of where the games are at. Like, I think the Prime broadcast has been awesome. The show, the NBC one has been great too. ESPN is just not the level that level to me right now in terms of their
I would
broadcast.
agree with you on that. I think of the three, yeah, ESPN, it's there. It's there.
Yeah, and so obviously I think ESPN, they're all the games are on ESPN on Christmas, right? I mean, I'm sure that's
Yes, ABC,
yeah.
ESPN for all of them.
So ESPN, I mean it's the worst network to watch NBA on right now, and I don't know. So yeah, I mean I think moving it would be smart. I think so. The tradition of it sucks, but they haven't really seemed to want to put a lot of work into making it feel like an event, similar to things like not putting the trophy on the court in the finals. Things like this we could go on and on about. Like the NBA, I just think needs to do a better job in general of if you're going to try and own something, like you can own June, July, whatever with the finals, right? You can own that time. There's nothing else on. You can with regular season baseball, like you should be able to beat that with your championship series, and hockey too. I know isn't on, but and then like Christmas, like if it's gonna be a really big day for your league, which I think we all who know about it, like we all agree, like it used to be a big deal, like an NBA on Christmas, and it still is to an extent, but it doesn't feel like it near as much anymore. Then I think you need to put the work into it. Like have special jerseys, have some different marking on the court. Now, don't make it a neon green court or a neon red court because no one likes that. But have a little marking. Like even the NFL that doesn't need to do this, they put the little peppermints on the jersey. Like they make it so it's at least a little different. Which, for the fact that the NBA doesn't do that when there's less players that are playing than on the NFL game, like it would be so much easier for the NBA to even do just a little jersey patch in the NFL, and they don't do it. So if you're going to kind of decide to just kind of mail it in on that day anyway and just act like it's any other game other than they all happen to be on ESPN, your worst TV partner, I think that, move it to Christmas Eve where you don't have any competition and see how long till the NFL realizes that that's a good idea and takes that too. Probably 5 years.
There you go. I would start with, there's 5 games. I would take 2 of those games, put it on Christmas Eve, and test it out and see how it is.
Yeah, I don't think that's about like maybe make I don't know, maybe make on Saturday or on the day before, not Saturday, I guess, but maybe make the Christmas Eve games. I would maybe do like your worst game and your best game. So this year that would be Cavs Knicks is the worst one. So maybe put that at 3:30 or whatever, 4, and then do your best game, which I guess is probably OKC Spurs. Rockets Lakers is really good too. I think it's probably OKC Spurs just because of the just NBA Cup matchup that happened. And maybe put that at like 7:38 on prime time. Do it on ABC, not ESPN. We all know you can do that if you want to. Like it's not a big deal. And so I don't think that's a bad idea. And then see how that works. If it works really well, then maybe do the full move. But I think it's worth experimenting with because it's still going to feel like Christmas. You can still use Christmas and all the programming. Which is really the only difference they have in it anyway. They just say, oh, well, they're playing on Christmas. So, well, is there anything different about the games? Not really. They're just playing on Christmas. Okay, well. So you could still market it as they're playing on Christmas Eve. And I think that's a pretty good idea, honestly.
I'll tell you what, though. There's a pretty decent slate of games coming up on Christmas Day. And we'll see. Again, I like testing out the waters on that. Good job, Rogelio. If you guys have any questions out there, put the comments below or LakersFastBreak@yahoo.com. Cleveland at New York starts off the tilt. It's a noon Eastern Standard Time tilt, which means 9 a.m. in the morning, which means probably no one on the West Coast will be waking up to it.
Yeah.
The very disappointing Cleveland Cavaliers, which are probably one of the most, I wouldn't put them at the top of my disappointing list because, the Clippers are still the Clippers. I picked actually 4th, I think, in the Western Conference because I bought into the names and I thought they still had some gas in the tank. And boy, did that gas come out, must have been a gas leak somewhere because that car ain't going nowhere. But despite the victory against the Lakers, but I'd say the Cavaliers, one of the most disappointing teams so far this season, faces off in New York. Your thoughts on that game? Again, New York riding high. People are all going to be happy there. You're going to see all the stars, Ben Stiller and Spike Lee, all you want, and Timothée Chalamet probably celebrating the release of his new movie, Marty Supreme. Which did really well in previews in 6 theaters, like huge numbers there. It's going to be wide release, so he's going to celebrate by probably be at the Knicks game. Your thoughts, my friend, on the rising Knicks, which are finally getting some love after decades of turmoil for these fans?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Knicks should really win this game going away. I mean, the Cavaliers, they would be my most disappointing team because I think there was legitimate, maybe not championship, but finals aspirations for Cleveland. Like I think that there was a very large school of thought that it's going to be the Knicks in Cleveland and someone else will reveal themselves, and then it's ended up being Detroit. But those were kind of the two perceived favorites to come out of the East. And with the as far as the Clippers, like they're terrible and they might give a top 5 pick to OKC, but I don't think anyone realistically thought maybe they would win a round. Like I think that was always maybe seen as the real ceiling for them with the teams at the top of the West. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, Donovan Mitchell's missed a game or two last week, so I assuming the NBA will all of a sudden make sure that he's completely fine come Christmas. And I don't know. I mean, I hope for everyone's sake that Cleveland can maybe make it a little bit better than we think, but they're just playing so poorly right now. They're missing some key guys. Struess, they're going to come up for me in a trade thing that we're doing later.
As for me as well.
They're just so disappointing, and the vibes in New York seem like they've never been higher. And it is going to be MSG. It is going to be on Christmas. You're going to have Chalamet is going to be there probably in an orange and blue Marty Supreme jacket, maybe wearing a ping pong ball on his head. Like who knows? He's going to be there.
Hey, the sphere was James Dolan's sphere here was a big ping pong ball. So there you go.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's good. It's going to feel like kind of an event just because it's maybe the first Christmas game where it's felt like the Knicks are a championship contender, though they've been good the past few years, but I think it was always Boston. And since they've been good, it was really always Boston. And then Cleveland was better than them during last regular season. And they feel like the best team in the East to me right now. And if I had to pick a team now, it would be Cleveland, and I'm sure New York, definitely not Cleveland. I would pick New York to come out of the East. And it's going to feel like an event. I mean, in my life, that's probably the first time that's happened where like it's been the Garden on Christmas and it's like we can win the championship. Like, and it's not ridiculous and we're not homers. Like we're that good. So that's going to be the coolest part about it in terms of the game. Like the NBA finds a way to have close games in big spots a lot of the time, but I don't know. I mean, these are just teams that are kind of on two different wavelengths to me right now. And so I hope it's close, but I really just predict that maybe we get a Jalen Brunson Christmas explosion, some crazy New York fans and MSG on Christmas, and it's at least a great atmosphere because I don't have super high hopes for the game.
Interesting that both you and I, for our subject later on, both kind of migrated to the situation going on in Cleveland for some inspiration there, and I'll just leave it at that. But any concerns that remember we talked about last week? I said that this new New York Knicks are kind of starting to look like the old New York Knicks with Jalen Brunson. Yeah, Jalen Brunson is less as far as on the ball that statistically than he is in previous seasons, but that is still like 7-8%, I think was the stat that somebody, but as far as usage rate is that's concerned. But then you see a game like against Miami where he is dominating the ball because I don't know what was going on with Karl Anthony Towns. Had probably one of his worst games ever as a pro, but they needed 47 points and all the shots taken by Jalen Brunson to get by a very spirited Miami team. So your thoughts? I mean, do old habits die hard?
Yeah, and I mean, I also think that when you have a guy like Brunson, come playoffs, I think it's going to be what it always has been. Like it's and not necessarily in the result, but in terms of
they usually do revert to their teams usually do to their old self.
And like they have great players, and I think they have like maybe now role players sounds insulting, but it's like in this context, it's really not. Like I think OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges play a role on their team, and they play it like better than anyone in the whole league. But I think that I don't know if anyone would say those guys are like stars or superstars or anything. You know, I mean, I think they are perfect for what they do. They're A+ fits who can play like stars, and they do often do, but I think they're still probably an overall tier below that. And I don't necessarily want either one of those guys dribbling the skin off the ball in the playoffs as compared to like, I would love for it, there's like a less than 4 or 5 guys in the league. I'd rather have the ball and dribble a lot and have it all the time than Jalen Brunson. And especially like that game the other night in Miami, like he was just on fire. Like there's no reason to do anything else if he's just going to make everything. And so, I mean, I don't think it's concerning to me. I think that we'll see what happens. I think they're fortunate that there's not kind of the juggernaut Celtics in the East, or I mean, we'll see what happens. Like it was after January 1st last year that the Pacers all this are like these teams' metrics since the new year is crazy. Like they're not going to make the finals, right? And then they beat everybody and made the finals and almost won the finals. So we'll see who reveals themselves. Maybe it'll be an Orlando team that's in the top 3 of all the net stats after the January 1st. Maybe Detroit will maintain this. Maybe Cleveland will bounce back with a trade or not a trade. Who knows? But right now, no, I think New York's doing what they should be doing. And are they going to probably always be pretty ball stoppy? Yeah, I think in the same way that OKC is, where it's like you have one of the best handful of, and the Lakers are like you have one of the best handful of ISO creators in the league, and they can always get a good shot or they can get to the line. And if those things are going to be there, then there's no reason to go away from them, especially in the case of New York, which doesn't really have the luxury that OKC or the Lakers have, where they have some awesome secondary ball handling creator. They have awesome guys around him, but they don't necessarily have another one who's dribble at the top of the key and go get a bucket like the Lakers have with Reeves or OKC has with Jalen Williams. So I think the Knicks are doing exactly what they should be doing. And his usage rate being down a few points is great. And it's good that they moved the ball more. My biggest concern with them was always just, you got to play more guys. Like you're just going to be so worn down.
Agreed.
That's always been the Tibbs thing. And now that they're doing that and that they're playing Shamit, Yabusele, I think, has even been hurt and was kind of still figuring out exactly what he was going to be when he was
out of the rotation for a little while as well.
Yeah, and so they have some, and we've seen him play in some games last year with Philly and be pretty good. So they have more guys this year. They have a coach who's willing to maybe live and die with a few bad games from role players if it means a few great games from role players later. And so no, I'm pretty bullish on the Knicks. I think maybe I'll end up just being boring, going chalk. But right now, I mean, I think it's going to be OKC Knicks in a series that the Twitter verse of people who don't like free throws from star players are maybe not going to love, because those might be the 2 of the 3 best in the league at getting free throws, and Shea and Jalen Brunson. But I think that's what it's going to be. And I think both teams are going to revert to giving the ball to their star guard.
Well, there's more action going on throughout the day on Christmas Day. The next game on the docket is the very surprising San Antonio Spurs, who have, despite the injury status at times with Victor Wembanyama, have maintained and actually grown that. They're now tied as we speak for second place in the Western Conference. They head into Oklahoma City for another matchup with OKC, and just as we talked about earlier about Phoenix chomping at the bit, probably wanting another piece of the Lakers, I'm sure OKC wants another piece of the San Antonio Spurs as well.
Yeah, OKC and San Antonio also play tomorrow,
yes,
and then they play again on Christmas. So it's going to be
weird scheduling.
It is weird, but it's going to be interesting. For like I thought that the whole narrative of of the Thunder, like the Spurs have the Thunder's number. It's like, well, they have Wemby who was unstoppable in that game, and they won by 2 and that. But I mean, I can't, like, if they beat them 2 out of these 3 times, that is clearly something, because very few teams are going to be able to say, if any, other than the Spurs, are going to be able to say they've done that by the end of the year, barring injury. Like, it just, the Thunder are just out, despite their struggles, maybe the 2 of the last 3 games, they're just a machine at winning. They just win games. They just figure out how to win. They win ugly. They'll win when they shoot 40% from 3. They'll win when they shoot 18% from 3. They just figure out how to win. And if San Antonio can thwart that, then good for they should feel really good about themselves, kind of what they are now, and especially what they're going to be maybe next year and the year after. But honestly, I'm really interested to hear what your thoughts are on this game. Like, I'm so in it, and I've seen all these Spurs Thunder arguments and all these debates, and I know every angle of every argument, but I'm interested to see what kind of someone who's maybe a little not just in that every single day has to think about it.
I was more interested in seeing what happened during NBA Cup, because I think that is closer to what we could see in a playoff run. Mm-hmm. Do I think that San Antonio is ready to beat the Thunder in a 7-game series. No, I don't think they're quite ready yet. I think they do need to make that trade, which I've been talking about for a while, and lean heavily into that Harper Castle backcourt. I do think they need to move Fox. I understand they're playing well as a triumvirate, and that's great. But how long do you want to have the second pick of the draft be a guy coming off the bench? I do think that those two need to start, and your future needs to be allowed to go ahead and prosper with whatever forwards or depth you get from a Fox is a big salary move. And then I think that will really ignite the conversation about a team possibly standing up to OKC in future years, plural. But I don't expect. I don't want to say I don't. I want to say that I would still put OKC ahead of San Antonio in the next 2 games. I think that OKC is going to make it a point to try to pummel them in the next 2 games, especially on Christmas Day, and it could get very ugly in my opinion. But when it mattered the most, I think that it shows that the gap. We always talk about the gap between OKC and everybody else, but the gap between San Antonio when Victor Wembanyama is there and playing at elite level and OKC, it's closer. It makes it closer just by his sheer dominance in what he can do to a game. And if you get him playing like that at an elite level, he can make this very interesting in a playoff format. So these 2 games, I'm not really writing too much on Calif because I just don't think that. How should I say this? Because San Antonio is maybe breathing a little bit of extended air right now, being at second place in the Western Conference. I think they are a little bit higher than what maybe their roster projects it as. We'll have to wait and see if that matures out, and I'm wrong on that. But I do think that even if they get jacked up in the next 2 games, that it doesn't send a note that they are so far beneath Oklahoma City. Because again, to me, that NBA Cup game really, really matters to me as far as what they did in a high pressure situation, Kayla.
Yeah, it's really impressive for them to be in that really high pressure situation and come through in the end of a really close game like that, especially against a team who had, won the championship, obviously, but en route to doing that, played some really tight knit, like we have to win this late and figure it out games.
It really impressed me. It left me with a really good impression on the future for San Antonio.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think now this feels really dismissive of Houston and Denver, but I just think that with the growth that's here and I think Houston, I just don't, even more than Denver, I just don't want to not include Houston in this conversation because it feels like it's kind of become like this is in the next half decade. This is going to be a Thunder and Spurs conference. Like that's what that's the rivalry. That's what we're all banking on. And Houston's second or first and third best players are like 23 and 22 and both really good already. So I don't want to discredit and have very clear paths to getting better. Like if Amen Thompson just learns how to shoot at all, he's going to be an unstoppable offensive player, and he's great on defense. So I don't want to discredit them, but really, in reality, like it feels like these 2 teams are maybe going to be kind of in a lot of really high leverage battles over the next half decade or so. And I think every game between them should be appointment viewing because I do think with this specific matchup, largely due to this just kind of seeded, like Wemby just does not like Chet Holmgren. We kind of talked about this last week. And I think that's great. And I think that it makes it so maybe there's a little bit added intensity to the games because Wemby just seems to really hate him for whatever reason. And so I think all these games are always going to be must watch as compared to most regular season games. Like I think both tomorrow and on Christmas are just going to be like everyone who loves this league should really be buckled in for those games. But I agree. Like San Antonio showed what they can do in the pressure situation against the Thunder. And like you said, if they played in the playoffs, I still would be really confident. Like I think it would be 5 or 6 for OKC. I just think they're built for that more right now. But that was such a positive sign for the future of where the Spurs are going to be. And maybe as soon as next year, that's maybe not going to be the case anymore.
Again, if they just make some adjustments on that team, I would say next year is really going to be interesting. Whether they want to push the button this summer and make some changes just to fortify that backcourt around Wemby. If they do so, and a little bit more shooting as well, they could be really something to for OKC and the rest of the league to be worried about. But they're playing well right now. Let's not undercut them right now. They're playing really well right now, and they could sustain it going forward. They could be that next Houston Rockets, OKC Thunder that are playing above what previous season was Houston.
Mhm.
The previous season before that was OKC, where people expected to be so much, and they're playing above those expectations, and that could continue through the season. And we'll find out. I think a success will be a split. If they get a split from OKC this week,
Yeah,
I think that's a success for them.
I agree.
The next game on the list is probably it's interesting, especially if Draymond Green plays. It's interesting, and of course, it just tells you the reality of what's going on with these two teams. But it is Dallas heading into Golden State next. Dallas playing a little bit better, but still several games under 500. Cooper Flag, we'll talk about more as far as the rookie of the year conversation, or all rookies right now at this point. So we'll talk about them. He has clearly stepped to the forefront since this month has started, about him being at the forefront of the rookie year. I think that's without a doubt. Com Knipple has played well, but I think at this point it is his former Duke teammate Cooper
Mhm.
Flag that has played well. But I know the speculation now goes to, how does Dallas go from here? Does Dallas decide, you know what, we're going to try and compete for a last play-in spot or a last playoff spot, or do they want to go ahead and just move on from some of their assets that they have now because it just doesn't work to the level that they needed to? That's something we're going to have to wait and see. Derek Lively's gone for the season. They've got, of course, Kyrie Irving waiting to come back still from injury. So they still have some question marks going forward into 2026. And Golden State, like the Clippers, just got old too fast. I mean, my good friend Legend, who is a avid Golden State observer, he's clearly said that they just got old too fast, and it's really disconcerting because you know Curry is having one of his best seasons ever.
Mhm.
That's the shocking part of all this, is he's having one of the best seasons he ever has. And yes, does Al Horford look every bit of his age? Yes, he does. Butler, uh, I don't want to say he looks his age at 35, because he never goes to the fullest when it comes to playing during the regular season, but also as well the young kids. I think that's where I think that Golden State has been let down the most, as far as
Yeah.
those guys that I, probably a whole bunch of other people thought had potential to be everyday big time contributors to that team. Jonathan Kaminga, Podziemski, Moody, those type of players really were expected a lot to go ahead and carry the torch after the main guys had left. And we come back, all these years later, and it's still Green, Curry, and to an extent Butler having to carry the team as well. Those other guys, I said first, before that, man, I don't think they play Kaminga enough. I think they should start him, give him a chance to play, or I think they should play Pods more. But these guys haven't earned it. When they've gotten those roles, they've gotten those starting roles. They haven't been able to go ahead and provide Golden State what it needs. And the fact that they still don't have any real size also really hurts them as well. They've never addressed that to any really great extent.
Yeah, I mean they tried to. James Wiseman just didn't quite work out for him.
Yeah, how'd that work out?
Yeah, I mean I think this from I think what the result of the game standpoint is will be maybe the least interesting game of the day, but from a people who haven't watched Golden State, which like I haven't watched Golden State a ton this year yet. They're one of the teams I just haven't really had, like I feel like I'm really comfortable with what they are. I don't feel like there's a ton to learn about them. But I'm excited to kind of see just how like drastic it is. Like, is it real? It's just Steph and that's kind of it. And they're just really old. And yeah, I mean, I don't even think they're a very interesting team to talk about. I just think like everyone knows exactly, like this is natural. Like this is when you keep a team together like they have, and you keep really two of the three main, like, these are the Golden State Warrior guys, and you let them age out, and you try with Jimmy, but when the guys you go get, their big outside acquisitions are 35-year-old Jimmy Butler and 4,000-year-old Al Horford. Like, I just this is very natural. Like, they've aged out, and it's the NBA's always been a young man's in their prime league, and there's just teams that are going to be better than them, and I think that's fine, and it's a pretty commendable ending, really, for a team that I think to build their dynasty with KD, it just kind of, especially for coming from where I'm around, just wasn't super popular. I think it's pretty respectable they're going out. They're not going to, be like, okay, it's over. We have to trade everybody. Sorry, guys, don't retire here. Like, clearly they're going to let Steph and Draymond and Steve Kerr retire there. And that's great. But really,
will they on Steve Kerr? Because remember, he's in the last year of his contract with no determination on what might go on
that's
next.
maybe, but like, I think if he leaves the Warriors, I don't think he's going to go anywhere else. Like, I think he's just going to go be a broadcaster, probably. Okay. I don't.
I'm not 100% sure on that, but okay.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, maybe people should be calling, like, anyone. If you can get any part of that Warriors dynasty in your building, you should try. But I just think, I think he said last night, he's like, I'm never going to leave Steph. Like, I'm never going to coach anywhere else as long as he's in the league. So,
okay.
I don't anticipate him going anywhere else, but maybe money talks. So,
well, but also the fact that there's, like I talked about, there's so many different television outlets. They would be very interested in Steve Kerr, who did that role before for NBC. So I agree with you on that aspect. He will be a valued commodity if he decided to not continue coaching, or at least, go in that semi-retirement mode where he would be available to coach, but hasn't found the right offer, and go into broadcasting instead. So I would not be surprised by that as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have every option. If he wants to coach, someone will hire him. If he wants to be a GM, he's done that pretty well before. Someone will hire him there. If he wants to be on TV, he was one of the best color analysts we've had. He'll have options there. Like, he's going to be able to do whatever he wants. He's obviously been very successful in anything he's done in basketball. But I think really the story of this game is just going to be the NBA audience seeing who Flag is on a national level. Like, this is a really special player who is going to be in the mix for a lot of major awards in his career. And it's going to be, Dallas has the infrastructure still of players around. Like, they still have enough guys who I like that are young, that I think they have some base of what they're going to be post Anthony Davis and Kyrie. But I think this is just going to be a good wake-up call for everybody, because Wemby and the Thunder guys, and even the Houston, and, like, I think those young guys kind of get all the credit, and they should. Those are all players who are awesome and on championship contending teams. But he's a really special player, and that's really what I'm excited for, is just to see, can he kind of rise to that moment and have a pretty awesome Christmas moment as a rookie, and what on paper is the weakest game of the day. But I think in terms of the perception and the, like, on-court aspects, I think it's going to be a pretty interesting one, really.
Later on the day, it is Houston heading into the Crypto.com arena to face against the Lakers. We talked about both these teams. Just, again, for every high-profile win that they get, they take seemingly a questionable turn, with a loss for the Lakers against the Clippers, and the loss for Sacramento against with Houston. So I see with Houston, I watched them in the past couple weeks pretty extensively, and I see where they shoot well. They're the second best shooting team in the NBA. They don't take as many as other teams, which is kind of puzzling, especially with KD on the roster. They offensive rebound better than anyone in the league. They have athleticism and defenders at many spots on the floor. But what seems to do them in times is the fact that what they don't have is a true point guard that can handle the ball at the times they need it. They're great for the first 40 minutes of every game. It's those last 8 minutes sometimes that give them trouble down the stretch. And this is where you need the Van Vliets of the world. Mm-hmm. And this is where they don't have the Van Vliets of the world, which, again, as I saw in Sacramento last night, Dennis Schroeder ate them up and spit them out. And Dennis Schroeder should not be doing that against a Houston team that just walked into Denver and smacked them around.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a pretty like staunch believer in like where this team's at. You're awesome now. They can make the conference finals now, maybe farther than that. I think it's hard to really just say you're going to put anyone other than OKC or even small, like less than that Denver. I think it's hard to just say you're going to put anyone else in the finals out of the West. But I mean, they're clearly in that mix. And I just think you need to see what you have in Reed Shepard for a year, like for the whole year, because he's honestly been pretty good. I think he's been better than anyone really
Lights
expected
out
him.
from
Yeah,
3.
really expected him to. And so I think you gotta just you gotta throw him in the deep end and like let him have some experiences, because KD is really crucial to them now, and that's fine. But KD is on borrowed time at this point. I think he's 36 or 37, so you're not going to have him forever. And I think them giving Amen Thompson those on-ball reps is going to be really valuable. We kind of talked about it with Flag at the start of the year, like just giving these young guys opportunities to do things maybe they're not completely comfortable with is just going to be nothing but positive in the long term. Unless it's like a Flag situation where their like roster around him was so depleted of any other even secondary creating that he just had to do everything, and that's not how he is, and that's why they were so bad to start the year. But with Thompson, like he's displayed those skills. Sengun's an awesome passer on the nail and out of at the post too, and whenever he has the ball, he's a great passer. And so I think they have like capable enough playmakers that they can kind of stitch it together for this year and still be a really dangerous playoff team. I think getting Van Vliet back for them will be huge. I think if they got really close, maybe took OKC 6 or maybe beat Denver, whatever that, if they maybe had a really good outcome in this postseason, maybe you pull some levers and try and get even better this summer than Van Vliet, especially coming off pretty, I think it was an ACL, something that sometimes takes guards, especially older ones, a year to come back from. But yeah, I mean, I think that this matchup is, I mean, this Luka thing is I hope he plays. That's obviously going to be a real bummer for everybody. That's why they put the Lakers on Christmas because they're the Lakers, but the player that right now is driving the Lakers it's not really LeBron anymore. It's Luka. He's the spectacle on the team. So if he didn't play, especially in a high level playoff type matchup like this, that'd be really disappointing. But yeah, I mean, I think this is an interesting one. Obviously, these are two teams who could win a round or 2 or 3 in the playoffs if things broke their way, and I'm interested to see. I mean, that Lakers Spurs result where the Lakers just really looked unable to deal with high level athleticism on defense. There's no one more athletic in the league than Amen Thompson. There's not one player, so I would maybe be concerned that he's going to have a huge game if I was a Lakers fan. But I mean, you testing yourself against playoff teams is why you do this in the regular season. Really, when you get to a certain point that both these teams are at, like you're a playoff team. It's about what you can do against the other ones. So I'm excited for it. I mean, I think Thunder Spurs is just the most interesting game of the day, just narrative wise. I mean, in most aspects, but I think I would put this at second for me.
Did want to make a update for everyone out there that's going to be watching this as far as the members concerned. JJ Redick provided an update on the injury report for Luka, AR, and Rui. All three, remain day to day. So they are up in the air right now as of we're recording on whether or not they're going to be available for the Phoenix game. Gabe Vincent is still out, and DeAndre Ayton was a full participant in practice. Wanted to go ahead and mention that. And the last game on the list, again, with the Lakers, I still think that they're a very competitive team in the Western Conference. You're right. We've talked about this. You have talked about this, Joe, myself, as far as the athleticism, and we'll see how that matriculates out. If the Lakers don't address it this year or not, we'll have to wait and see how they do that. But I still think in their form where they can just go ahead and get that starting lineup together, they can overpower a lot of teams in the second half and have done in the second half with that starting lineup when they really start to gel. So we'll see how that works out. But the last game on the list wanted to go ahead and address is Minnesota with Anthony Edwards going into Denver to face off against Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. Murray is having a great season, but they have had issues with their starting lineup, just like the Lakers. The Lakers have
Mhm.
fielded 16 out of 27 games, different lineups in 16 of those. Denver has had those issues as well with Gordon and Braun both being out of the lineup for extended periods of time. So that victory by Houston, it still matters. It's still important, but there's a caveat on that as well. But your thoughts on Minnesota and Denver, where they stand heading into their Christmas Day game coming up Christmas evening game
Mhm.
coming up on Thursday.
I mean, I think it's not surprising because I think of these young stars in the NBA. I think Ant is the most marketable. Like he's just has such a huge personality, so likable. He's so fun to watch play. So I think that's probably why this was the one they decided for the night game. But it's a real shame that this isn't like really the full speed Nuggets. Like it just, I wish that this was really like a full like a play. I mean, these teams playoff matchups against each other are always great, and it's one of the more like interesting. I don't think it's a rivalry really because I don't. I mean, I guess I don't know the full mindset of Timberwolves and Nuggets fans, but I don't really feel like from the outside there's like some brewing hatred between those two fan bases. But it's going to be a really interesting game. Every Jokic game is interesting. Every Ant game is interesting. Timberwolves obviously got a just awesome win against the Thunder where they just really came up clutch late, which has been a really big problem for them throughout really the whole Chris Finch era, and they really figured it out. Obviously, Ant made that just nothing better you can do if you're Casey Wallace on that really game-winning Ant 3. He just made it because that's what superstars do. So, yeah, I mean, in terms of game analysis, I just think this is just going to be an incomplete grade because Aaron Gordon especially is like such a giant part of what Denver does, especially in the playoffs. So, I mean, it's interesting and it'll be a good game, but I just think him not playing really is kind of a bummer because he's so valuable to Denver, especially in huge clutch time situations.
Once again, it's Caleb Poncy. Please go ahead and check out what he's doing today at the Suave Report and also New Century Press as well. He's got some great articles at the Suave Report related to the NBA, covering the Clippers' demise and also as well OKC's rise as well. So go ahead and check it out at the Suave Report. As I've said the past couple weeks, there are really some good stuff there that he's written. All right. Coming off the Christmas Day games, I wanted to go ahead and touch on a couple more things. You added actually something in as well. One of the things that we want to discuss was the all rookie ladder because we will save your component for last because that's something really I thought was a really nice touch to cap on the Christmas wish list for some of these teams. But where do we stand on the rookies? And I will say this definitively, this is a better year than last year. Okay.
Unreal.
Anybody who
Unbelievable year.
yeah, it's there's just we talked about big gaps with OKC, everybody else, blah blah blah. There is a big gap between last year and this year as far as the quality of players and there. But I wanted to go ahead and hear your thoughts on your top 5 rookies as of now. As of now, which, as we have seen from 1 month to the next, is subject to change.
Yeah, so I mean, it's obviously Flag and Knuppel have been the two start to like wire to wire. Those have been the two best. It's interesting. You have some guys really coming on lately. Like Harper has been good all season, but then he got hurt, and now he came back. He had that great game and huge moments in the NBA Cup. But I'm going to still put Edgecombe at 3 just because I do value what he's done all season, and I think he's starting to maybe fly a little bit under the radar just because of these giant names in this class. I'll put Harper 4. And I'm going to go look. I just want to make sure I'm not forgetting about anybody before I just throw the last guy on here that I want to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then it's a tough one between Cedric Howard and Derek Queen for me for that last spot. Just because, like I said, I really want to, and this is all going to change. And by the end of the season, if Derek Queen has been playing like this all year, he's on the team. It's not close, right? But I'm going to give the slightest edge to Coward right now, just because he's been pretty great from start to finish. And I think that should be valued, especially in a team that all of a sudden is really starting to maybe turn it around a little bit, and they look pretty good the last few weeks. And then, I mean, this rookie class is so good, we can already do like a second team if we really wanted to, which would obviously be highlighted by Queen. And then after that, like Fears, his teammates should be on a team most years. Colin Murray Boyles in Sacramento's been pretty good and pretty conducive to winning.
Toronto, you mean?
Toronto, sorry, yes. And then, I mean, you even have like Austin Newell's started to play pretty well lately. Hugo Gonzalez in Boston's been pretty good. Liam McNeely's had moments. Like I was watching a few Hornets games, and he exploded in the first half last week of the game. I don't remember off the top of my head. Made like 4 threes in the first half. So yeah, but for my first team, I'll go Flag in like my order of deservedness, which is completely irrelevant, but I'll do it anyway. Cooper Flag 1, Knuppel 2, Edgecombe 3, Harper 4, and Cedric Coward 5 would be my 5.
Well, you talked about some of these guys fading a little bit. I think Edgecombe, Coward have faded a little bit with their games after they got off to a really good start. But they're still pretty darn good. They're both averaging double digits. They're both still averaging, still major parts of the rotation. So I don't want to dissuade anybody from saying, oh, they're terrible, whatnot. They are right there as far as what I'm saying. But I think, again, for a guy who is really heading into this month, saying that Com Knippel was the rookie of the year so far, Cooper Flag has overtaken that, but not by much. Com Knippel, in fact, does still lead the league for rookies as far as scoring overall, but Cooper Flag is doing a little bit more across the board, but not by much. So the race between Flag and Knippel is closer when you look at the stats, when you look at the eye test, but I am going to give it to Flag right now over Knippel. Third is where it gets really interesting, I think. And again, VJ Edgecombe, he has slid just because the Philadelphia team has just relied so much on Maxey in recent games, and VJ Edgecombe has been, like you said, a little bit under the radar. I'm going to go as far as third right now to Dylan Harper, who is playing right now really well. Still in the backup role, but I don't know how. I don't know why, or I don't know how, but they've got to get him into the starting lineup because he's playing really well right now for the San Antonio Spurs, who are rising and thriving right now, heading into their OKC matchups. So I'm going to put Dylan Harper third. I am going to put VJ Edgecombe fourth, and I'm going to move Derek Queen number 5 right there, because Derek Queen, you know what? Maybe not such a bad trade after all by New Orleans. It's starting to look like it. I'll just say that maybe it's not. It all depends on where that draft pick ends up. But Derek Queen, as a rim protector or defender for a big guy, no. But for a guy that can do, like you talked about, play make, like a Sengun type, offensively extremely skilled. And if you put some defenders around him and rim protector around him, maybe at the power forward spot, or put him at the power forward and put a center there, I think that he can really, really blossom in the league. But yeah, he is my choice after that. And then that was fourth, right? Fifth would be, wait, what did I put? Flag, Knippel, Edgecombe, Derek Queen. And fifth is the thing I want to say, because like you talked about, fierce, under the radar, but in New Orleans, compared to what Derek Queen is doing, but the guy's averaging 15 points, and he's just solid right there. Cedric Coward still playing at a pretty good level for Memphis as well. Those guys will probably either one would be fifth right now on my list. But I'm going to give you a surprise, my friend. You mentioned a little bit Sacramento, but you mentioned for Colin Murray Boyles. The best guy playing right now, as far as the rookies out of that list, is Maxime Renaud.
Yeah, it's a great one.
Yeah, got a double-double. Even though he struggled shooting, he got a double-double last night against Houston, and has been averaging a double-double in several games since he's been inserted into the starting lineup. This could be the steal of the draft. And I said this on the show the other night, the post-game show, exactly that. Seeing Adu Thiero get nothing as far as his minutes, partly because he didn't have any training camp or summer league, but partially because the Lakers just don't have any confidence in him as yet. they could have really blown it as far as because they made two trades, the Lakers did, to move up twice in the second round, and you could essentially say that they passed over him with those trades. And Reynald, I understand it's on Sacramento. I get that. I completely get that, but he looks like he's a really solid player, Calif, and could be, I'm not going to say a special player, but a really solid player to come, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching that the first of the two Portland Sacramento games that ended with a just atrocious foul call that made so the Blazers won after they blew the game like 3 different times. But doesn't really matter for this conversation. He was the best player in that game, in a game with Denny Avdia, in a game with DeMar DeRozan playing really like he was awesome. DeRozan made everything down the stretch in that game. I think Reynaud, I want to say he had 28 points and
28 and 10, or was it 28 and 11? Something really, a double double for sure.
Yeah, like he was awesome. He really kind of, yeah, what 29 and 11. Yeah, 29 and 11 on 50% shooting, nearly 90 from the free throw line and 33% from three, which I think is important for kind of his ultimate what he could be down the line. Is he has a lot of shooting upside. That's a great one. I blanked on him, and I'm really glad that he would not have made my team like he did yours, just because I do think he's been pretty good all year, but I wanted to give credit to those guys like a Coward who's been in a really weird spot and has played well all season, but he's awesome.
So I'm going to have to say, I'm going to have to move because I think I said 6 players. So I'm going to say Flagged 1, Knipple 2. I'm going to say, I said Harper 3. I say Edgecombe 4, Derek Queen number 5. I'm going to have to kick out Reynald for now. But man, he cowered and he has put himself in that conversation,
Yeah.
Caleb. One guy who hasn't, that seemingly is on all these rookie ladder lists, and I still laugh at it, is Igor Demon. I don't know how. He finally had one decent game, was over the weekend, 15 points, where he shot efficiently. But that is the first game all season, and he's been in the starting lineup virtually the entire season. Again, I don't know why he's still considered a top 10 prospect, but okay. Ryan Kalkbrenner, he's not gotten quite the shine in the past couple weeks that he did beforehand, but he's still averaging 9 and 7 and almost 2 block shots a game for Charlotte. You know, he's been pretty steady. I see a pretty decent future for him as well. So yeah, I wanted to mention those guys. Trey Johnson, even though they started him and now they have him coming off the bench, he's still a double-digit guy in Washington, and they sorely need points there. These are just quality players I'm seeing right now. And that doesn't mean Ace Bailey, we thought was going to be a player, and so far he's just still filling himself out. So I'm not giving up on him yet. But yeah, there's some pretty good players in this league coming in as rookies, and I see this as a far better draft class than what we saw last year.
Yeah, it's not even. I mean, it's not even close. Like this is shaping up to be possibly like an all-time talent infusion class, which is crazy. Added to like I would argue one of the highest levels of like average player we've ever had in the league anyway. And this is, I mean, going to add at least at least probably 15 usable players to the NBA in the long run, because people we don't know now. I mean, the Thunder draft as well as anybody, and the guy they picked 15th towards ACL, he hasn't even been able to play yet. Like, who knows? What if he's a solid role big? Like, we don't know. So yeah, I mean, this is such a great class, and I'm glad you shouted out right now because, and yeah, I mean, Jemin is averaging 9 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists. He's sub 40% from the field, and he plays 23 minutes a game. It's just not. Maybe last year, that's not cutting it in this class. Like, it's just not. You're not anywhere near a team. So, I mean, good on him. I'm sure I don't watch a ton of Brooklyn, fortunately. I mean, I'm sure, like, really doing a lot of like lead ball handling, which is really hard for any rookie to do effectively and efficiently in this league. But that doesn't mean that I'm giving him more credit than a lot of these other guys who are having awesome rookie seasons. Because, like you said, so is Fears. Like, Fears has really been a heavy ball handler guy for New Orleans, and he's been great and better than anyone really thought he was going to be right away. So it's interesting because some of the project guys like Fears was so young and he's just so like skinny, but he's such a freakish athlete. Like I'm not surprised he's working out, but I'm surprised he's averaging 15 a game already. Edgecombe was the same way where I was like, I think I see the vision, but I don't know that he like at Baylor. I mean, I went to Oklahoma State. I'm from Iowa, and I grew up an Iowa State fan. Like I watched Big 12 basketball more than any other league, and when I would watch Baylor, I never was like, oh my, this guy. He'd have moments, but on the large whole, like I'd be like, this guy's not some future all-star level prospect, and here we are, and he is clearly after 30 games or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, it's shaping up to be an all-time rookie class. So, yeah, I mean, mine, I'll stick with mine of Flag, Knipple. I'll have Edgecombe at 3 just to value kind of what he did there at the start of the season. That was so good. Harper at 4, and then I'll still give Coward 5, but Queen is if we did this again in 10 days, Queen would probably be the answer. I just want to make sure that this Queen thing's really been like a 2-week Odyssey experience of like this super fun. It's interesting that this archetype of big is starting to work out more. This like no one's Jokic, but they're like kind of in that mold of like they're not great defensive players, but they kind of have like supercomputer minds. They're great playmakers. They have some outside skill. And with Sengun's now in that archetype. Sabonis is kind of like that. And now I think Queen is maybe like the next guy to kind of be in that type of player role. And I think it's interesting, maybe an interesting, now that we have 4 of them, it's pretty an interesting trend that they're kind of just seeming to work out a lot now in this, how the NBA is played right now.
Well, we'll see what happens, my friend. But yeah, one disappointment I could say right off the bat, outside of whatever going on in Brooklyn, is in Phoenix with Kaman Malawak. That's that they made the trade to get him, along with bringing in a 7-footer. That was the puzzling thing. They brought in Mark Williams minutes after they drafted, or was it just before? Either way, they happened right on top of each other. Where and Kaman Malawak is getting no time at all, and it's just having a miserable season to start his career. I'm hoping that he'll find a place in this league, because I thought, like, I like the kid from what I saw in Duke, but we'll have to wait and see how that translates out to the next level. But yeah, for the most part, it's been a really interesting rookie class, and we'll keep you updated with our thoughts later in the season on what's going on and if that has all changed with the rookies and what's going on from there. But yeah, don't sleep, guys, on Maxime Renault. Yeah, absolutely. Could be the steal of the entire draft when it all works out. But before we head on out, my friend, you had the best offering on what was for the today's docket. The easy stuff I put in there, but the best and most interesting was 3 under the radar stocking stuffers that teams could go ahead and get for this holiday season, or assuming trading season, which started actually last Monday officially, as far as 90% of the league becoming available. Your thoughts, my friend, on 3 under the radar trade targets that teams should be interested in?
Yes, I mean, we're going to hear Mark Stein was reporting about Harden last week. Like we all know about Kuminga. We know Giannis is his name's just going to be involved in these, but I just kind of wanted to like, the real likelihood is Kuminga probably will out of pure desperation, I guess, but like none of those guys are really that likely to get moved. Like it's hard to trade for James Harden. It's hard to trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo in the season. Like these guys aren't likely to get traded. So I just wanted to go through and like, who are guys who could realistically be moved, that are on affordable contracts, that could actually be acquired and make sense. And the first guy I pointed to, and this isn't even like super under the radar, I don't think, because he notoriously, not this year because he no longer plays for his team, which is insane. He was awesome against the Thunder the last few years, and that's key. Like Keon Ellis is good, and he's on a bad team that really should. And then they mismanaged. They did the opposite of the OK, which I'm not trying to like toot the horn of my own team again. Like if you want to learn about front officing, there's worse places to look for some guidance than OKC.
I'll just put it this way. You and I and seemingly everybody else that's outside of Sacramento has a better idea and a better opinion of Keon Ellis. I mean, Laker Tom of LakerHolics.com, just absolutely just wants to find any trade imaginable to get Keon Ellis on the
Yes.
Lakers roster. But yet, what, he played 9 minutes, got nothing, got scratched, I think,
Yeah.
against Houston, which is, again, they didn't even play Malik Monk for a game and a half. So that tells you what disarray is going on in Sacramento right now. But they still beat Houston. What can you say? But I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think Keon Ellis just needs burn. We
Hmm.
want to see if his shot is good enough, but his defense certainly is.
Yeah, I mean he's shown enough flashes of 3-point shooting where when you're a team like the Kings and he's not as thick as Dort is, like I don't think he has like Dort's just turned into, despite his really rough year this year, he's clearly like a useful NBA role player who's really good. Um, I just he's like was in kind of that mold to me where it's like you just gotta the first when the Thunder were bad, Lou Dort could not shoot. Like we saw that in the bubble against Houston, obviously. But then like the first couple of years, he was a not good 3-point shooter, but through sheer volume, he really shot his way into being a pretty solid outside shooter. And Keon Ellis has shown enough flashes, and he looks like a way more natural of a shooter than Dort is. He's elite defensively on a team that is. It's hard to be elite defensively on a team that surrounds a really good defensive player with no one else who's really even interested in playing on that side of the ball. And Sabonis is a good player, bad at defense. Levine, Duro, like it's the same. They have all these guys like Keegan Murray, I guess, like idealistically can play defense, but I don't know that that's really a reality as much of that's like the perception of him. And he's the only one, and yet they don't play him. And so he's someone, yeah, the Lakers, specifically the Lakers, should be all over it. I think that we talk about like maybe another guard in Houston. Like Houston could maybe make a play for him, and he would not be expensive. And I think he fits what they want to do there. There's other. I mean, every winning team should be trying to find some way to get this guy because I think you're going to be able to get him for cheap because Sacramento's butchered his development situation and his contract situation. Because after the season, they essentially last year had an option on him because they signed him on a two-way and then an undrafted free agent, the whole thing. They basically had a situation where they could have declined his option last year and given him a long-term contract, but he would have been a restricted free agent. So he basically was not like restricted free agency's dead. Like restricted free agents don't leave their teams anymore. Like it's basically impossible. Instead, to get one more year of him on a cheap deal, they picked up his like $2 million player option, and now he's an unrestricted free agent after this year. So he's going to leave. I hope for the people who like basketball's sake, I hope for his sake, because I think he's going to have a moment in the league, and he's a good player. Next one I went to is I actually had kind of like I did not apron check this, which I've done trade articles in the past, and those I just think it's fun to try and find apron stuff that works, like because it's so impossible. It's actually a challenge sometimes. The straight up the money between Kelly Olynyk and Corey Kispert is similar, and Olynyk like doesn't play in San Antonio, and they need wing shooters would be huge for that team both now and in the long term. And I'm pretty sure you could probably throw in like a lottery. Like what's Corey Kispert doing for Washington? Like he's not going to be some star for you anytime soon. He is a role player in this league, and you're a team that kind of isn't anywhere near needing role players. Like you just more minutes is better for Washington to me. And so I think San Antonio should target him specifically. I mean, he's another one that I just think he's capable defensively. I'm not going to say he's good, but I think he's not a complete cone. And he's an elite 3-point shooter, which is not surprising going back to his days at Gonzaga. So I think Houston is another one. San Antonio. I think the Lakers need to focus a little bit more specifically on guys who can play defense. I don't know that they need another like really good, not super athletic shooter who happens to be a white guy. I don't know that they need another one. I think they're pretty loaded in that department. So I think there's better fits out there for the Lakers. But yeah, he was my second one, and then I had my third one written down somewhere. But what did you have any one that like you were looking around that really caught your eye? Because it was Keon Ellis and Kispert kind of just withering away to me were ones that really stood out to me.
I have three, and I
Okay.
mentioned one the other day. But before we get into that, I wanted to mention that Cleveland, if we talked about them for the Christmas Day matchups, if it goes bad and it continues to be around 500, they continue to dabble on there. They have what, the highest or second highest payroll. They're top,
Yeah,
they're above the second tax apron.
they're 22 million above the second apron.
Yeah, so look at the possibility of maybe Donovan Mitchell being moved as far as is concerned. So just putting that out there because
that reminded me. I had a Cavs one, but I just think Donovan Mitchell's so good. I think it'd have to take a crazy offer. And unfortunately, because of their second apron, they can't take back multiple players for him. It has to be a 1-for-1 swap. So it's just, I don't know what the deal would be. I do think that
he'd look good in Golden State.
I'm sure. Yeah, are they trading Steph Curry for him? I don't know what else.
No, Butler.
Why?
I mean, you got to look for a future beyond Curry.
No, if for Golden State, absolutely. For what's the point of that for Cleveland? You're going to get.
It's only if you get multiple firsts. You're right, but again, for them, they may go into a fire sale mode. But they have so many. Cleveland has so many injured players right now, or players that are not able to stay up on the court. They're one true asset that is playing well right now, but also is $50 million on their books, is Donovan Mitchell. And that's only if they just stay where they're at. If they actually get back to the mean, what we think that they should be, we're talking like a third or fourth place team. That's a different story. But again, just throwing it out there on Donovan Mitchell. Just
and there was a few in Charlotte. Kind of became a point of interest for me for multiple teams, just because they have some interesting guys, interesting contracts. This is not fully my idea. Bill Simmons said it last week, but Jared Allen to Charlotte just makes a lot of sense to me on a lot of levels. He's on an affordable contract now that kicks up to being a lot harder to acquire as soon as the next year hits. So if someone's going to trade for him, they'd probably like to do it now, and it's easier to send out the salary. He's right at 20 million. And because of Charlotte's cap situation, they could send back like one player who makes, like they could send back, if it turned into a thing with Cleveland where it's like, okay, we're not trading Mitchell, we're not trading Mobley. That's what, like, those we have to keep those guys. Those are 2 All-NBA, All-Star level guys. We really want to keep them. Garland's value's never been lower.
But you're going to have to. Cleveland's going to have to ship out a first with Allen on that, just to dump him, because I mean, if you're Charlotte, why do you want it? Why? What does he actually move the needle for your guys? Especially, does he so much better than Kalkbrenner right now?
I think he's really pretty good, and I think he's miscast. And I think,
okay.
I guess I'm going to remain. This is a real sea change for me. I've always been, one of my best friends in college randomly has clung to Jared Allen as a player they really like. And I don't understand why they did such a thing. Maybe it's his giant afro. I have no idea, whatever. But, and I always I don't know, man, I think he's the 10th best center in the league, whatever. Like, he's pretty good. But I mean, at that number, and I get like his long-term, it goes up, but in your Charlotte, and they would be offloading, like the one that just came to my head because of their cap situation. I think they could just basically send back Grant Williams and maybe like a first and a protected first. And then you're off Grant Williams' contract, which still has multiple years left.
I'm not answering that phone then, because Cleveland's got to give me something to get off that contract personally.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. If I'm Charlotte, I'm just trying to get him in the door because I think he fits. And then, I mean, another one, like, I just think that Kalkbrenner's great, and he's a really good value player for where they drafted him, especially in the early second round.
But you don't know how far that level goes. That ceiling still,
is Kalkbrenner going to be their like franchise center for the next like 10 years? Like, I don't.
And nor would I say that, nor would I count on that, because I haven't seen it yet. But like I have with Renault.
The flash. Yeah. Yes, the flashes have been there with Reyna, and like Kalkbrenner's going to be a high floor defensive player. He's also going to be a really low ceiling offensive player. Like, he's just never going to be very much on that end. Not that Jared Allen is, but he's not bad. Like, he's in that kind of Rudy Gobert mold, right? And we saw, and he's not near that player defensively, but kind of he dunks it, he does layups, he doesn't do much else, but he's efficient offensively. And I just think that you're getting off, like, Grant Williams' contract isn't anything to write home about either. Like, if you're he still has multiple years left at right around 13 million. So like, it's not like they're, they're getting off kind of a pretty bad, and at least Jared Allen can play. Like we know Jared Allen's good. He's just maybe not great. Grant Williams doesn't play anymore. And so if you can get that, it would be part of that. And then I would probably maybe do more so than what I said earlier, maybe like a top 10 protected pick and then like a swap. That's more probably what I would do. And you protect both of them. Like you don't, definitely. Luka got one pick for God's sake. You can take some protected picks for Jared Allen.
Then I guess they're going to have to go out to lunch first. Cleveland and the Charlotte GMs are going to have lunch first.
Charlotte's probably great this time of year, especially if you live in Cleveland. Just take a flight down. You're
there you go. I've still not taken it without a one. I think the ones have to come up for the other, especially like you said, with the extension kicking in on Jared Allen. I think you're going to have to attach a one with him to Charlotte. And that I would take. I would take Jared Allen and a one to help alleviate it. But that's only if the Cleveland season continues as is. The Mitchell talks, the Allen talks, they kick in if they're still 500 or close to 500 around February. If they're not, and they're back up into third or fourth place in the Eastern Conference, then obviously our conversations are different, Calif.
Yeah, and then the other one, and they'd have to figure this out. And this straight one that I'm going to propose right now, it does not work. I don't even need to put it in anywhere. Like I know this doesn't work financially, but I think the outline of something could be there. Is I just think if I'm Charlotte, I'm just done with this LaMelo thing. Like I just think you should really be focusing on Knuppel and Brandon Miller. Like those both are guys who seem to play like winning basketball. They try on both ends. They're both really talented. They're both young. You have Miles Bridges has his stuff, but like he's been a really good player with no additional issues to the ones he's previously had over the last few years. Kalkbrenner's good. Like you have a young, even this Diabate guy who he's a playable rotation big. Like they have young guys who are good. And I'm going to do like two versions of this. It's both Portland, and one has LaMelo Ball going back to the Blazers. I don't think that makes any sense really. I just think this is like a fun one really for me because I don't think LaMelo Ball fits what Portland's trying to do at all. But like if you wanted to do something around like a Jeremy Grant, and I think a team like Charlotte specifically, I think that would be really smart for them to take a flyer on Robert Williams right now because he's finally been a little healthier this year, which you cannot count on. He's going to get hurt again. That's just who he is as a player. But when he's been on the floor, he's back to look like he's pretty good. And if you're Portland, Klingon is like his defensive on-offs are crazy. Like when he's on the court, they're a great defense. When he's off, they're a bad defense. And then, you spent a near lottery pick on Young Hansen, who is a slow burn guy, but you're not winning a championship anyway. Like play the guy if you believe in him, which you clearly believed in him enough to blow any draft analyst out of the water by taking him at 16. And then even that, like they have small ball options, like. And then I've always like whenever I watch him, I don't think Duop Reith is horrible. Like you can't play him against OKC or something, but like he can make threes and get rebounds. It's not like he's the worst center in the league or anything. And so if they could somehow figure something out around Robert Williams and Jeremy Grant, which is $45 million in salary. LaMelo makes 37, so it's not like that's super far off. Like an $8 million gap for two non-tax paying teams, they can figure something out. Portland throws in a couple picks. And then they have a pretty solid team that defensively around LaMelo makes sense. Like if LaMelo's ever going to be good, you have to he's good. If you're going to ever have a winning team with LaMelo Ball, you have to surround him with really good defensive players. He's just always he's decided he's just always going to be a liability on that end. And you have Kamara, who's awesome. You have Klingon, who's awesome. Avdia's pretty good on that end. Shaden Sharp isn't great there, but when Drew Holiday gets back, he'd be starting him anyway. And then that's for really probably, in the case of a lot of them, those are like A-level defensive players. In the case of Denny Avdia, I'd say he's like a B+. But I think that's an infrastructure that makes sense around him. And then you still have guys like Shaden Sharp, Chris Murray, Sissoko's been good, and that's another part of this is if they do ship out a guy, they open a roster spot and you can sign Sissoko, who's shown to be an NBA player during this injured times for them. So I think that could make it doesn't make a ton of sense, but it could like I see why Portland's just never going to really. They're now to a level where they're going to be too good unless they get like Dallas lucky and to get like a superstar unless you jump in the lottery because Avdia's great, but like when you're in the West and there's Shea and there's Luka and there's Wemby and there's Flag and there's he's never going to be that kind of player. Like he's just that's just not where he's going to be. So you need to have a guy who maybe has that upside. Like I think you could tuck yourself into LaMelo having. Then the far more realistic one is, I just think that Sexton doesn't make much sense to me in Charlotte anymore. I think he's a good player, and I think you could really easily do something. Sexton's at 19 million, and you could do Robert Williams and Matisse Thybulle to Charlotte for Sexton and get like Portland just needs offensive players, and they need guards like both right now and long term. They just are pretty shallow in their guard room. And I think he would probably come in around $15 million a year when his contract expires. And he's clearly he's been a good NBA player. He's been around for a long time. And he's just short, so he's not great defensively, but he really tries on defense. And that when you're surrounded with the guys who I talked about earlier, like if you try on defense, you're going to be able to pass off for a pretty good defense still. So I think that one makes way more sense of Colin Sexton to Portland, Robert Williams and Matisse Thybulle to Charlotte. I love anyone taking a shot on Robert Williams. I think you try and, especially Charlotte, who I think needs another big long term. I think you try and turn him back into what he was in Boston. And then Tybulle's whatever. He's in there for salary. But he has been too hurt to mean much anything.
And that's the thing. But you and I are thinking alike. Great minds think alike because that's one of the first things I had to list. And I do think it as far as the Lakers are concerned, yes. But I also think as far as who might be on the move, Colin Sexton, yeah, definitely. I think he'll be on the move. I do think Terry Rozier's contract would be very, I guess, attractive if Miami really wants to build that as well. But I do think the Matisse Thybulle, Robert Williams, Time Lord deal that they will probably be moved. But yeah, I mean, if you look at the number of games Thybulle has played uh, in the past 4 seasons, only one of which he's played above 60 games. The others have been 22, 15, and 4, I think, at this point. So you're taking a big risk, and you don't know which kind of shot that he has because he's shot poorly and he's shot well from the 3-point area. So you don't know what you're getting with Matisse Thybulle. But Robert Williams has been good, like you talked about. He stayed upright, which is a big thing for him. So definitely a team like the Lakers could take a risk because they do have expiring contracts to go ahead that match a Thybulle Robert Williams combo if they want to go ahead and move them there for coming off the bench. But I don't know if that improves the scoring for the bench, which the Lakers certainly do need, but that would probably be an upgrade if both are playing to their capabilities. That would probably be an upgrade over what we see from a Gabe Vincent, a Maxi Kleber, Jared Vanderbilt, et cetera, Dalton Connect, whatnot. So you could do that. I mentioned on one of my last week's post game shows them looking right across town at the Clippers with Derek Jones Jr.
Yes, absolutely.
And Chris Dunn. Getting that in a package. I think any other team that wants defense and covets defense with some athleticism. Now, I understand that might rob the Clippers of virtually all their athleticism on that team, but you're only won 7 games. So I don't know how really your expectations are at. But if they're still floundering during trade season, they might want to package those two up. To provide some defense somewhere else. And the Lakers would be certainly one of those suitors there. Keon Ellis, we talked about, absolutely, because I think he's being, you and I think everybody else outside the Sacramento situation, think he's being severely miscast or misused. What I'm afraid of is what if he does go to another team, a new team, and you do give him the opportunity, and then you're like, oh, so that's why Sacramento doesn't play him. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But I do think Keon Ellis is being looked at in that fashion because I've heard his name all over the place as far as it's concerned from other people that swear by him, like you and I. And just hopefully that would be the case when he moves on, just like Dalton Connect. Like everybody thinks, even here with the LA fans think, if he goes somewhere else, he's going to start lighting it up. And I hope that's the case, but he's a name that's also going to be on the move. But I also thought of in Chicago with their 39 win team that they're seemingly destined to go and get once again. No matter how hard they try, they just can't escape mediocrity. A Kobe White Io DeSumo package. How does that fancy yourself as far as adding that to let's say a Lakers or any other rotation that you can imagine?
I mean, it would just have to depend what they get back, especially for DeSumo. Like, I think I was pretty bullish on like the Kobe White Giddey fit, knowing that that's going to have some defensive issues, but like I thought it would be like they're going to be pretty good offensively, and it just hasn't worked. So ever since Kobe White got back, his fault, not his fault, unclear, but that's kind of when it just lined up with when the Bulls just kind of started tumbling.
Kevin Herter as well, coming off the bench. He is around 18 million, so look for him possibly as someone that can moved as well.
Yeah, so I mean, it would take a lot for me to move both of them, just because I think DeSumo, you're going to be able to extend him, and he's good, and the Bulls have seemingly never had any. And they need good defensive players, which he might be one of like two on their team, and B, he's on an affordable contract, and I don't think he's going to get some crazy amount of money off of it. So I don't know if I'd move him. I just think that what you'd get back for him, I just think I'd rather have him than get the 2 second-round picks someone's going to be willing to trade for him. Kobe White, I just think if I'm the Lakers, I just would go for guys who can play deep. Like, I just don't want any more guards who struggle defensively, who I'm going to have to pay after this year.
But they need something off the bench. They need some firepower off the bench because they're just not getting it consistently right now.
Yeah, and he's good for that, but like, if you're going to do that, I think it would make more sense maybe to get like I don't know. Like, I think Kobe White is good enough where he's going to maintain the level he's getting paid. Actually, he'll probably get paid more. Like, I think someone can really talk themselves into Kobe White. I think he's good. And he's young. And I think if I was going to do something like that, if I was the Lakers, I just think Sexton makes way more sense just because he's going to be more affordable. I imagine the price to get him will be lower. And he's a little better defensively. And he's going to, I think, cost less as a free agent. So I just think if you're going to go in that lane, I just think Sexton is going to be a lot easier to get in general.
Because I just put it out there. A Vanderbilt, Vincent Kleber connect for Kevin Herter, White, and DeSumo. That would work as a trade.
I don't know that I don't know if you should cross your fingers for that.
I'm not crossing my fingers. I'm just saying it would work financially. I don't cross my fingers for anything because it's Rob Pelinka, and with Rob Pelinka, anything is bound to happen. But I'm just saying that you never know. Chicago might want out of that mediocrity at any way they can get it. So
unfortunately, they seem to just love being. They just love thriving in it. They just love bathing in mediocrity. They have since Derrick Rose got hurt. They just never have gone in any other direction. But yeah, I mean, I don't
out there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Honestly, if I was the Bulls and you made that call to me, I would say, well, who makes a similar amount of money to Kevin Herter that we don't want is Patrick Williams. So take that contract, and then you can maybe have that. And that's where I'd start that conversation.
And this is where I'd end it.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I just think Sexton makes a lot of sense for the Lakers, honestly. I think it's easy to get there with the contracts. I think he's going to be affordable. I don't know what the point of him is in Charlotte, especially because the Sion James they drafted at Duke honestly seems like he's something too. Like, I think they maybe found a role player in him. And so they have now another guard to play. And I just want to preface my LaMelo Ball thing. I do not think LaMelo Ball is going to get traded. I think his contract's too bad. I think someone's going to have to be really desperate, and I don't think the Trailblazers are desperate. I think they're probably counting their lucky stars because they have Denny Avdia, who's awesome now, and who knows why that's happened. But I did want to do at least one kind of fun, throw it around one. I think Jared Allen to Charlotte makes a ton of sense, personally. But
Colin Sexton, though, if he does become available, could be very valuable to another team like Houston, which as somebody coming off the bench. And if you want to move Dorian Finney-Smith, who has been nothing for them in a package and throw a first with that, or if you want to just trade Van Vliet's contract, that's something there as well. But yeah, he would fit on the Lakers. I would not say differently, but if he becomes available, there are other teams that could use the firepower and a guy that's a steady hand as a point guard coming off the bench. So yeah, please keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, if he is made available, which I'm sure he is, there's going to be no shortage of suitors. So it'd be interesting. I just think the Lakers are going to be in a spot where they do have those expirings. They do have, because they traded for the fourth best player in the league and they had to give up none of their draft assets. They still are pretty stashed, to my knowledge.
They have actually they're not. They only have one first that they
Where
can trade
are all
and
their
one
firsts at?
They're all swaps. So I can throw swaps at you.
Yeah.
How about some swaps?
Yeah.
Those beloved swaps.
Yeah,
which will look so tasty with Luka Doncic.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I did not know where did they give their swaps up for?
Well, no, they don't. They have lots of swaps.
I know, why'd they have to swap their pick? Like, who'd they swap their picks? I'm trying to remember. Like, I know that Rui was like 5 second-round picks.
Well, they also gave up first in the Anthony Davis trades. That was obviously key as well. But over the course of the years, they've given up a lot of firsts over the years, and they only have one first. Now on draft day, they will have 3 firsts, just like other teams. They will add a first, plus they'll have a first in the distant future that they will have. But outside of that, the Lakers only will have that period of time where they'll have more than 2 draft picks going forward for at least the foreseeable future. So very interesting to see. But yeah, Calif, great job as always, my friend. But before we head on out, please go ahead and enlighten everyone what you're up to on the New Century Press or your stuff that you're doing on the Suave Report.
Yeah, so Suave Report stuff. I'm trying to. What I've really done this year is, because it's my first year in kind of the field, and there's been a lot going on with at New Century Press, trying to kind of navigate this field as a professional for the first time. So whenever something really just kind of hits me is when I'll go and I'll write something for Suave Report. And so that, like, when the Clippers destroyed Chris Paul, I was like, these guys suck. I'm going to go write an article about how much I don't like them, just as a fan, a neutral fan. I just think they're the worst. And that, I don't remember what after that I don't remember what game that was after for the Thunder, but it was some game where I kind of wrote about, like, I just think it's fine to declare them a potential dynasty. Like, not that they're going to be one, but I think that it's really I think it's in the cards and pretty believable that could happen. So I'm waiting to see what kind of hits me next with Suave Report. I don't really know for sure what it's going to be, but keep an eye out. I'll definitely do something over the next few weeks there. And yeah, that's what I'm doing. Where there's some talk that we may start doing live shows of our own there after Thunder games down the road, but that's like not new. That's just something that was mentioned to me, and I think we could end up doing, and I'll be on those if that happens. So yeah, there's some exciting stuff there, but nothing really set super in cement yet. But yeah, like Gerald said, go read my Clippers article. I think most of you guys specifically will enjoy it. And I thought it was just really interesting as someone who really loves the history of the NBA, not just the present. It was a real fun thing for me to be able to go back and kind of go all the way back to when they're in Buffalo and look at their whole history of being the worst, not just a recent event. So.
Absolutely. So take a look at Calif Poncy's greatest articles today, his great articles today at, of course, the Suave Report, and the work that he does for the New Century Press as well. But Calif, another great conversation. I'd love to, especially throwing in that 3 under the radar. That one was like, yes, that's a great way to cap off everything. But any last thoughts before we head on out?
I don't think so. I mean, it should be an interesting week for a lot of teams. OKC specifically, I believe they have 2 San Antonios back to back, and then I believe we also play Philly, who is not great, but they're. I mean, the real detractor against the Thunder is they just haven't played that many good teams yet this season. So I I'm interested to see what they do with kind of that pretty tough stretch back to back against San Antonio and then go into Philly. So they play Memphis too, who's turned around. They play them tonight. So it should be an interesting week for OKC, and then all around the league, there's always something, it seems like.
And I'm interested to see, of course, with the Lakers tomorrow night, seeing Dylan Brooks chomping at the bit. It was so funny to see him the other day smiling. Who was it? Oh, in the Denver game when David Adelman got thrown out, and he was just sitting there like smiling like a Cheshire cat, because he wasn't part of it. But he was just sitting there. It's just so funny because the camera immediately focused on him, even though he had absolutely nothing to do with what was going on and why Adelman was so upset. And then, of course, him wanting to see if he could poke the bear with LeBron, who, you know what, now that double-digit streak is gone, he's been playing better. He had a 30-plus point game. I understand it's LeBron. You're going to have his good games and his bad games, and especially I'm worried with the only 1 day of rest layoff for the next couple games. What kind of LeBron we're going to get, especially with Luka having the leg contusion. We don't know if he's going to play. He's day to day. Austin Reeves day to day. Rui Hashimura day to day. So the Lakers. The Los Angeles day to days. We'll see what happens in Phoenix and, of course, against Houston. But again, it could be a good week for the Lakers, and they could end up being still in third place in the Western Conference when all dust settles, or they could find themselves in 6. And it goes back to what we originally started with: is you cannot lose against those teams you should be beating in Sacramento and the Clippers right now. You need to step on the jugular when you can on those type of teams. And again, whether it's an overreaction or not, we'll find out by the end of this week. But Calif, great talking to you, my friend. Absolutely some great insight as always right here on the Lakers Fast Break. But once again, it's Calif Poncy. Please check out his great work today at the Swell Report and the New Century Press. So for Calif Poncy, it's Gerald Glassford. Thank you so much to everyone out there. Wishing you the happiest of holidays, the merriest of Christmases, Advent, Hanukkah, whatever it is you celebrate, Kwanzaa, doesn't matter. We just want you to be happy and safe this holiday season. Sit down, relax, skip that football stuff. Watch some basketball instead. The NBA on Christmas, there's nothing better than it. And for a basketball fan, the time is now for you to provide, along with us, some NBA observations.